this is James Johnson, and I'm here to do a review on Expedition Viking. I'm just going to load into one of my current games. So, this is what I consider a hidden gem. Sure, I think that there's probably some people that know about this game, but I don't think enough people know about this game. This is, in my opinion, what an RPG should be. This does some of the most things right for the RPG genre in the past couple of years that I've seen, other than Kingdom Come Deliverance. If more developers would take a look at Kingdom Come Deliverance and Expedition Viking and use those as role models of RPGs going forward, I think the genre would improve immensely. Alright, so this loading screen is going a little bit longer than normal. I think maybe it's the fact that I've got OBS running.
One day we will rule this city, and from it we will rule Northumbria.
Okay, so here I am in Expedition Viking, which, as you can see, its graphics are, well, they're nice, but they're not really, really fancy like some games. And for me, that's a plus. So, I like games that have high quality, low quality graphics. It just allows you to put so much more time and effort into putting content into the game, as far as I'm concerned. So, you see people like this, they'll have little icons over their head that you can talk to them. Hope you're not here for trouble, Norseman. We have plenty already. But you look strong. Ever try your hand at farm work? And so here you get an idea of what the types of options that you have for conversation. And in this particular conversation, I can tell them I've tilled a field or two, but I left that behind. So that means that, you know, I left behind my life of farming as Thane of... Nah, that doesn't sound like me. I tried, but my heart just wasn't in it. Preferred sailing, fighting, and pillaging. Okay. And thralls and weak men, so I do not. Well, obviously, thralls and weak men, so I do not. Shame. Lost Ben most of our lads when they took the king's penny to fight the wild men. Fox took the rest. Sounds like tough times, huh? Ain't it the truth? My wife and I won't be able to bring in the harvest. Tough times we live in. So that's just a small conversation. There was no need to have that conversation. It doesn't do anything for the story, but it's a conversation nonetheless. And that's good. You need that type of thing in an RPG for immersion. And I approve of this type of thing. Normally, I don't do a lot of gameplay when I'm doing reviews, but Expedition Viking is a game where I feel you need to see the gameplay to really understand the game. I could not do this game justice by simply talking about it. I find this game immensely fun, and I've played through it so many different times. In this current playthrough, I'm playing through as a Viking who is completely hell-bent to pillage Britannia. I'm a true Viking playthrough this time around. I'm not doing really any diplomacy at all. I'm just in it to plunder and just crush people. And that's one of the awesome things about this game is your choices. They really matter. The story unfolds completely differently depending on the choices you make. And I'm hopefully going to show you that here. If I can find the King's Longhouse. I swear it was around here. There it is. So this is my first time to York. And so I recently landed and I murdered the town that I landed in. So Northumbria should not be very pleased with me, and this is basically the king of Northumbria. And the only things that I've done in his domain so far is kill his people. So he should not be very thrilled with me. The king of Northumbria sits at the very edge of his seat, one hand gripping each armrest of the chair, craning his neck to count your herd entering his hall. By his side stands a man whose austere robe marks him as a high-ranking religious figure. As you enter, he leans over to infect the king with a frown via the medium of caution and whispers. The king motions you to his guard, and they raise their weapons without aiming them at you. You stand before Osred, the king of Northumbria. My court has been told that you attacked a village on the coast and raided the convent of St. Augustine. Is there truth to these accusations? The convent was unprotected. We simply took what we wanted. Murmurs of fear and outrage fill King Osred's hall. The guards finally leveled their weapons at you, but Osred raises his hand to stay them. His eyes jitter with poorly concealed fear. You have committed a great crime against the kingdom, but I will not tolerate any fighting in this hall. You are to leave York at once and never return. My decision is final. Any further transgressions will be punished by death. Leave my hall at once. God save you all, says the religious crony. So that went fairly well, right? I've always wondered what happens if I steal. I've never actually stolen the game. Attempt theft. This belongs to someone nearby. Getting caught stealing will hurt your reputation. Nothing in it. Anything really cool to steal from here? Really valuable. Let's look around. Here we go. Well, I ripped off that bookshelf right through the wall. I'm a cat burglar, man. So I'm intentionally being kind of hostile here. It doesn't seem I'm going to spark a fight. Let's talk to the champion of Northumbria over here. A quick word, if you please. I trust you are not too surprised by His Majesty's rejection. After all, you're foreign warriors of a pagan faith. I'm not some common warrior. I expect something along these lines, yeah. regret it if you feel you've been treated unfairly, though nothing in my king's behavior requires apology. I understand that it may be disappointing. I hope you don't find this impertinent, but would you and your retinue honor me with a practice fight? Yeah, we accept. Very good. We'll borrow a suitable field south of the city. Alright, so a man dressed in simple yet elegant clothes takes a few steps towards you as you leave King Osric Hall. He extends both hands to show that he's unarmed. Though a smile rests on the man's lips, there's no hint of it in his eyes. How fare you, Halford? My name is Wada. I should like a word or two with you if you can spare the time. That's a very different tone that the king took with me, not afraid to be seen with all heathens. The king is proud of the strength of his faith. We are not all of us survives. Not here. We should talk in a more private location. Come now. I know the place. Alright, so basically, what am I looking for here? I'm not at the world map, so I'm not able to see it, right? Right. So you start, there's several phases to this game. In phase 1, you start off back in Denmark. And in Denmark, your father has died, and his death, you're a weaker clan, and your father hasn't done much to strengthen the clan. He's basically been off adventuring and not really taking care of clan matters. Now you come, you inherit the responsibility of becoming Thane of your small clan, and your small clan is rather destitute compared to your neighbors. Your neighbors basically want to take you over. So you need to basically grow the prosperity and the strength of your clan as fast as possible, and the story basically points you to the rich lands across the sea in Britannia, and so basically there's different ways that you can acquire this wealth over here in this land. You can be diplomatic and you can trade for it, or try to be diplomatic and trade for it. You can be a Viking and just, pillage and take what you want, or you can do some hybrid combination of therein. When you come over here, so you have a certain period of time in which you prepare for this expedition. You have to acquire all the necessary herd members to go on it. You need to take care of a few storyline things back at home. You need to make a ship, etc., etc., and the more time and effort that you take into doing adequate preparation, the stronger you can make your crew and you can skill your people. So it does behoove you to slowly go through that portion of the game and get as much of the preparation in as possible before you come over here to Britannia. Now, once you actually leave on the expedition, you're kind of entering into a second step of the game. And in the second step of the game, you again have a time limit. You have to basically accomplish growing your clan's power and prestige, which is shown basically through things that you do at your homestead. You can upgrade like the longhouse for either power or prestige, and all these different upgrades that will raise this stat here. So 100 of 100 in prosperity would make you very prosperous. And so when you end up at the big meeting at the end of the game where your neighbors are basically telling the king that they should get your title because you're a terrible Thane, you can point out just how terrible you are by what you've accomplished during the course of the game. You can say, hey, I'm one of the strongest clans in the game. Look at my, all that I've done to increase the power of my clan. Or I'm one of the richest clans in the game. Look at all I've done to increase the prosperity of my clan. Or both. You could be like one of the most prosperous and powerful clans in the game, if that's how you deem to go about doing it. But the story portion of it, how you get there, is basically you come over to the British Isles and you kind of, you play the game of kings, if you will. You could either straight up murder Northumbria and conquer it. You can side with Northumbria, side with the one king versus the other challenging king, or you can side with the other challenging king versus the other king. So basically there's two people that want to rule Northumbria. There's Osred and there's Ethelwald. And you can play both sides, or you can just take Northumbria from both of them. Then there's also Pickland, and Pickland again has two primary factions that are vying for it, and you can side with them or you can just take it from them. There's also Mercia, so there's all these different factions in the game that you can meet, and you can backstab them, you can play along with them, you can play both sides, however you deem the best way to do it. And by doing these things, depending on how you react in all these situations, your characters that are part of your herd will have they'll react differently to everything that you say. Like Roskva here is kind of indifferent with me, but Idus is devoted, and that's basically because Nefja is unwavering. So some of these characters you start off with from the very beginning, like Nefja and Kettle. You are kind of like your first two friends that you go way, way back with, and so they start with real high loyalty no matter what. But like this guy here, your family member Aslifer, he actually challenges you for control of the clan. He's not too thrilled with you in the beginning, and depending on how you play the game, right now I'm playing a very aggressive game. I'm taking stuff that I want, and he is an aggressive type person. He likes, well, it says right here, he's aggressive, right? So he likes it when I just take things, whereas Roskva is cunning, superstitious, greedy, and independent. So she would rather me plot and backstab and use poison and subterfuge, where he's much more in your face. He's like, just take it and take it now. And some of these other characters, well, they're somewhere in between these two extremes. And so basically, it's a wonderful, complex game of character management, skills. The skills systems in this game are just incredible. You have all these varying skills that you can assign to your characters that you can do so much with. And the story, like I said, every part of the story matters. Like that conversation I just had with the king, that could have gone in many different routes depending on how I interacted with him. But the way that I interacted with him is a way that has now pushed the story forward in a certain direction. And there's many different key points to where what your conversation says starts you off in maybe being on the side of the Picts, or maybe being on the side of the Northumbrians, or maybe being on the side of none of them. I'm just going to crush them all. And so from an RPG standpoint, it's very refreshing to find a game in which you can play it through, and it can it can completely unfold in a completely different nature than your last game that you played it. And that is one of the biggest pluses of this game. If I were to say that there were negatives with the game, some of the negatives might be the time restraints, but again, the time that you're given to do the things in are really ample, and by the time so the preparation to go on the expedition, you can accomplish everything you need to prepare. That one is maybe a little more tightly constrained than the main time constraint that you're in now before the Allfather meeting, where people are plotting to take your land from you. There's so much time between now and then that you can do so many things over here in Great Britain. You could sail back and forth, you know, a dozen times. You know, bring loot back. Talk to your mom. You know, there's really an ample amount of time, even though there is a time constraint. What are some of the bad things? You know, there really aren't a lot of bad things. There is some RNG in the combat, but the RNG in the combat is actually really good. It's some of the best RNGesus, if you will, that I've seen in a combat system. And it's too bad I could show you the combat system, but I'm trying to keep this to be a shorter type video. But I'm sure there's some other Let's Play out there in which you can see the combat in it. It's kind of XCOM-ish type combat, and I think the combat in this game is just excellent. It is so good. At first it seems a little simple, but as you really get into the combat, it shines. You can go about customizing your group and your play in so many different ways. You could go really ranged oriented. You could go really melee oriented. You could. There's so many different things and ways of setting up your herd, and you can do it. I mean, there's so much possibility to try new things and to play the game again and again. That I think Expedition Viking is just basically a hidden gem. So I'm not sure what else to say here, so I will stop rambling on. But yeah, if you're big into RPGs, this one, as far as I'm concerned, from an RPG standpoint, is maybe the best RPG of its type. I think it's better than Baldur's Gate. I think it's better than Tyranny. I think it's better than Sins. I think it's better than Pillars. It is really the best CRPG that you could find on the market today. And yeah, who doesn't like Vikings, man? This is really a game you need to try. It's a must-play type game. If you've never played it, go get it. It's not that expensive, and it's well worth it. Anyway, I hope you like this video. If you do, leave a like. And until next time, peace.